Hello once again, everyone. So, as usual, for the holidays, we would normally do, the month of December would be Wrestling with St. Nick, which is going over the excellent art of grappling by Nicolaes Petter, who was a Dutch wine merchant that I have talked about on the channel before. We went over his defenses against a knife being pulled. However, since we couldn't do it this year, I decided to get someone that had been through it. So this is Nye. I believe you've been on the channel at least once before, maybe. No, you've been on the summer reading demo. But either way, decided to bring someone who had been through with it before, and we could go over some of the actions to show a little bit of kind of the weird and wacky, wonderful world of Wrestling with St. Nick, just so that, you know, keep up the holiday spirit and all of that. So we're not going to go over a ton of the plays. We're going to go over a couple of them that are interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit about how they work. But mostly this is going to be just kind of a showcase. So first and foremost, we're going to start with part one, which is going to be dealing with chest thrusts. So Nicolaes makes mention that when two Dutch people get angry at each other in the time, right, their go-to thing is to thrust each other in the chest. Now, we don't necessarily know if this is a punch or if it's more of, a percussive smack with the palm of the hand. Could be either. We've all seen the playground, that sort of thing, right? And that even comes up. So we're going to assume that it's something along those lines where I'm committing my weight forward. And if I'm getting into an argument on the street, I'm probably somewhat intoxicated. So, there's going to be some momentum. But the very first action describes how to deal with it in two ways. The first way is he's going to go to thrust me in the chest. I'm going to step out, grab his arm with my left hand, grab his neck with my right hand, and force him down. This is just a nice avoidance. So he comes at me. Down he goes. The more momentum he gives me, the easier it is, and he's probably going to make a little bit of contact with your chest, but I'm not eating it nearly as badly as I could. So, no problem. Even if he lands, I've still got that momentum to use. The trick is to start stepping to the side. So, the second way of dealing with it, Nye is actually going to do, so we'll switch places. What's going to happen now is rather than just fully sidestepping it, I'm going to strike at his chest. He's going to step out, bring his leg up and in, and he's going to grab me by the seat of my trousers and pull me over. Go ahead and step a little bit more further. There we go. And obviously, we get to roll out of it, but most likely I'd be dunked on my head onto the hard cobblestone streets of Amsterdam. Excuse me a second. Nice and simple. So those are our first two we're going to deal with. The next one that we're going to move into is going to be a little bit different. So the next one deals with double-handed thrusts to the chest, which is quite a lot of fun. So this one, what's being described by Nicolaes is that when people go to do this, they will step onto your foot, probably your rear right foot. They'll step onto it with their left foot and slam you in the chest, which can, of course, break ankles and things of that nature. So it's just a double-handed chest pop. So what we're instructed to do against it is as he goes to push me with both hands, right? I'm going to seize hold of his arms from below, like so. Now, if you can get the actual elbows and he's gripping hard, you can break these elbows as you go. But we're going to be nice and I'm just going to grab, kind of above on the tricep. What I'm going to do is as he's giving me momentum, I'm going to sit back and toss him over my head. Now, this is one of those universal throws, just a sacrifice throw. Probably you're meant to just keep hold of those arms and drive them straight into the cobblestones on the other side of you. I'm going to toss Nye for distance so he lands on a nice crash pad over there. No problem. Out of sight, out of mind. On with my business. Now the counter to that is rather humorous. Because of course, if I try to sit through and he knows what's coming, it's very easy for him to stall by spreading his weight out, and then he has tried to do something quite horrific. He's tried to grab hold of my foot and tear it asunder and, quote, make me impotent. We'll maybe leave out that last bit, but here's how that should work. Right? Not very fun. So moving on to the next piece, we move into the third part. And we are kind of, jumping around with this, but I wanted to showcase some interesting ones. Ah yes, the waist grip. So for this one, what's going to happen is this actually comes off of a series of actions. Most of the waist grip techniques are focused around breaking the hand as it's pinned close to you. So for example, if we've taken kind of mutual waist grip, one of the very first is to pin this and break his hand out that way. This is in a series of things. But we're in the waist grip. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take hold of his wrist, spin through, bring it up onto my shoulder, and break his arm that way. Oh no. Very simple one, pretty much exists in most every other unarmed combat source. So, waist grips, break. Nice and simple. His counter to that, he's going to grab hold of my arm, you're going to settle his weight, bend his arm so it can't be broken, and, well, you'll see. Right? Once again, going straight for the daddy bags. It's a wonderful system. So we'll show that again. And all that fun stuff. Now, I'm not actually out of the fight. Interestingly, Nicolaes doesn't actually describe how to not get kicked in the balls. He just says the fight's not over, so I guess I'm just made of tougher stuff today. Or his aim is really bad. So he goes to knee me, I'm going to hold on, I'm going to rotate back and then cast him down. So we're here, through, drive it under, grab his neck, force him down, and then proceed to beat the crap out of him. So we'll show that one again a little slower. So waist grips, up onto the shoulder, he hits me, I'm going to rotate back out. With both hands, I'm going to drive his arm behind him. I could drive it up his back. I'm then going to release with my left hand, grab him by the scruff of the neck, and just force him down onto the ground. Fun stuff. Moving on, we now jump significantly ahead into the 8th part, which is of fist strikes. And this one has always been one of my favorites just because the slight ludicrousy of it, and that's something you'll learn to appreciate when you go over wrestling with St. Nick. I am sure that Nicolaes himself could do it, but there's some important context that we can't really replicate in this sort of setting. This is one of those examples. A lot of his sweepings or taking of the foot have to do with the fact that everyone is walking around in, at the time, heeled shoes on wet cobblestones. Feet slip very easily. So what's described here is that, go ahead and step a little bit further, right? 2 men are squaring up and they're about to start their fight, okay? I'm going to go to strike at his head, he's going to duck underneath, grab hold of my ankle, and just make me fall over. And then he can proceed to kick me in the head as many times as he wants. So here's that again. And all that fun stuff. I really like that one. I can't do it to him, but he can definitely do it to me. Next we move on to the 10th part and our final part for today, which is going to be on throat grips. Now this one's quite a lot of fun because we get a couple different escapes. Now when he's talking about throat grip, he means either grabbing the collar or actually grabbing hold of their neck to proceed, to strike them as many times. This first one, he's going to wind his head underneath my arm toward my thumb and thus force my arm to turn over if I try to hold on. It puts a decent amount of pressure onto the tendons in my hand, and I just can't keep that grip. So, that should look like so. And I end up in this position. If I hold on, this is where I end up. It's not a great place for me to be. And he's got my side, from which he can exploit a bunch of other stuff that Nicolaes has already talked about. Now, that one's pretty fun. If you can get quick at it, it's very surprising. The other one that we're going to see is going to be percussive use of both hands to slam his hand clear of my throat. So he goes to grab me. I'm going to close both hands together. I'm going to pop up from the side, not straight up, but over, nice and hard. So I'll do that again. And now I'm clear. The other one is if my hands end up above. Hey, wait. Just down as hard as I can. One more time. And I'm preferring to strike with the side or the top here as opposed to the actual fingers because that hurts really quick. Now, the final escape from the throat here, that's right, is going to be, rather than knocking his hand aside, maybe he has grip of my jacket or something along those lines, so I can't just make him let go. So he takes a good grip. What I'm going to do is I'm going to once again strike from above, but this time I'm looking to strike to get his arm to bend. And this could also be I'm trying to strike to clear and it just doesn't let go, right? So his arm bends inward. From here, I'm going to slide my right hand up, grab tight hold of his wrist, move my left arm to the side, and I'm going to twist up hard, thus preventing him from doing a whole lot to me via pain compliance. So we'll show that whole thing together. And he doesn't enjoy that. Not at all. Oh, we forgot the wrists. We forgot the twisty. Oh boy. So we got to backtrack a little bit. Back to once again dealing with chest thrust. This is what happens when you don't script and can't edit. So off this one, he once again goes to thrust me in the chest, and I get to break your arm again. He goes to thrust me in the chest, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll with it from the inside, grab hold of his wrist, and then twist from the outside. So what this should look like is so. Nice, painful, once again, kind of same idea, and all that fun stuff. Now, it requires a bit of practice to get that timing right, so I'm guessing this one is probably meant, he grabs and then you can roll with it, but either way, one more time. All that fun stuff. Now, against this, it's likely that he's going to spin with it, as per what Nicolaes describes. So, he punches me in the chest, I start this pressure, he steps up and through. Note that he's stepping around me, not staying in place, which gives him great opportunity to either strike me or things along those lines. So we'll show that again. That was so sloppy, I want to do it again. Go for my chance, come on. And he escapes through it. Now, there is that tempo during this, where his arm is to my front, and his back is facing me. At which point, I am instructed to skillfully break his hand. We have a modern modification of this because the image shows something that we can't recreate without Nye being completely unable to do this anymore. So here's our modified version. He goes to thrust me in the chest, I grab, I twist. As he starts to turn, I'm going to force his hand down toward the small of his back, put my elbow in place. I'm then going to grab his elbow and just pull him straight down onto the floor. It's not pleasant, but it doesn't put his hand in any danger, and it's not going to damage anything too badly, right? So here's that one more time. And that's just some choice things from Nicolaes Petter's magnificent art of wrestling. It's very different compared to a lot of the other wrestling we do because it's all focused on pain compliance and street fighting and really weird images of Dutch people fighting each other in super fancy clothes.
Wasn't Nicolaes Petter a wine merchant?
Yes, he was a wine merchant by profession. No noble ties, just offered people, hey, come around to my house, pay me a little bit of money, we'll wrestle in my basement. So kind of the local crazy dude, but by age 30, he was called unbeatable. And it's really a shame that he died as young as he did, because I would have loved for him to do, more written down on it. But either way, it's a fun thing that's an interesting dive into studying. Definitely not something you can free wrestle with, but, thought that would help people kind of feel like things are a little bit more normal in this weird time. So, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for joining me, Nye. Happy Christmas, everyone. We'll go over some other techniques another time.